after I unexpectedly saved the kidnapped socialite Emma Sterling. Her grandfather, the patriarch of the Sterling family, gave me two choices as a reward for my kindness: marry his beloved granddaughter, Emma, or take $100 million to pursue my own small goal. Without a second thought, I chose the money and immediately booked the first flight out of the country. All I wanted was to run, to get away from this place as fast as I could, to escape the very woman I had saved, Emma Sterling, because I had been reborn. In my previous life, after saving Emma, I had worked 4 jobs a day, pouring everything I had into shielding her from the world, raising her like a princess. But when she regained her memories and returned to the Sterling family, she forbade anyone from ever mentioning what she considered a dark and shameful past. Mr. Sterling, grateful for what I'd done, asked me what I wanted. I was so naive back then, telling him, I want to marry Emma and take care of her for the rest of my life. I had no idea that from the moment she returned to her family, Emma's heart had already been given to Julian Croft. After we were married, she treated me with absolute contempt. If our hands accidentally brushed, she would immediately pull out a handkerchief and wipe hers clean with disgust. Later, she got pregnant. To avoid a scandal, while getting to be with her first love, Emma pushed me from the top of a skyscraper with her own hands. As I lay dying, she looked down at me with scorn and said, my first choice was always Julian. My backup could have been anyone. You're just a pathetic poor man, Ethan. How could you ever be worthy of being my husband? When I opened my eyes again, I was back on that very day, with Mr. Sterling asking me what I wanted. This time, I buried those foolish fantasies myself. I booked a flight out of Crestview for the following week and told him calmly, I'd like some money to go and build a life for myself. Mr. Sterling frowned, his eyes wide with disbelief. What? You mean you're really willing to let Emma go? Everyone knew how much I loved her, but the agony of my past life taught me that there was a chasm between our worlds. She could never truly be mine. I took a deep breath and managed a calm smile. Miss Sterling and I are from different worlds. She deserves better. I'd like to pursue my own path, so I hope you'll grant my request. Mr. Sterling was quiet for a long moment before letting out a heavy sigh and nodding. You're right. The gap between you and Emma is too great. It would never lead to happiness. The Sterling family is indebted to you for saving her and for taking such painstaking care of her. Name your price, and it's yours. It was nearly dusk when I left the Sterling estate. I had just pulled my car door open when my phone rang. It was Emma. In my past life, she and Julian Croft had already confessed their feelings for each other by this point, while I was foolishly leveraging the fact I'd saved her to force her grandfather into a marriage. The memory flashed through my mind as I answered the call. Emma's furious voice immediately erupted from the speaker. Ethan, I told you to bring me that file. Are you dead? Look how late it is. You can't do one simple thing right. What good are you? Her shouting reminded me that I was, in fact, supposed to bring her a file. That familiar, cutting tone was like a needle sinking right into an old, unhealed wound. I drew a sharp breath and said nothing. After a long pause, she spoke again, her voice dripping with impatience. How could you forget that? You're such an idiot. Whatever. Just have dinner ready. I'm on my way home. Then she hung up. I stared at the dark screen, a storm of grief churning inside me as tears burned my eyes. A second later, I opened the airline app and changed my flight from next week to tomorrow. 5 years ago, I was living in a small town when I found Emma. She had been kidnapped and had fallen from a cliff. She was severely injured and had lost all her memories. I spent every penny I had to save her life. When I reported it, the police couldn't find any record of her identity and asked me to look after her for the time being. That turned into 5 years. As Emma recovered, it was clear she didn't belong in our small town. She was brilliant, and her beauty was simply stunning. The locals would always tease me, saying I'd found myself a wife. I was never good with comebacks, but deep down, their words made me happy. I was an orphan who grew up relying on the kindness of neighbors, and Emma was the first real color in my life. I grew so used to having her around that I dropped out of school and started working 4 jobs. I wanted to support her education and give her the best of everything. Over 5 years, I watched her transform from a girl with no memory into a radiant, beloved princess. She was kind, too. She'd worry about how hard I worked and secretly get a job to buy me new clothes I'd never buy for myself. On cold winter nights, she would always be there waiting to walk me home from my last shift. We supported each other through everything, but those days came to a sudden end when her family finally found her. That's when I understood why the police had no record of her. She was the heiress to the Sterling fortune, sheltered from the world her entire life. The day we left that small town, Emma held my hand, her eyes crinkling into a warm smile. Come with me, Ethan, she said softly. From now on, it's my turn to take care of you. When I opened the door to our apartment, the living room was lit by a single dim wall lamp. Emma was sitting on the sofa, her face a dark mask, dressed in an expensive, custom-made white one-shoulder top. She slowly turned her head at the sound of the door, her voice like ice. Where have you been? Didn't I tell you to stay here? I stood there for a moment, watching her, before walking over and flipping on the main lights. Your grandfather wanted to see me, I said nonchalantly. I went to the estate. Then I walked into the kitchen, tied on an apron, and started preparing dinner. My detached tone made her explode. She stormed into the kitchen. Ethan, are you trying to defy me? What is this attitude? I don't know when it started, but her words were always laced with venom. In my past life, I'd assumed she was just stressed from taking over the family business. Now I knew the truth. She didn't love me, so she couldn't even be bothered to fake it. A sharp, acidic pain spread through my chest. I put down the knife and turned to face her. What kind of attitude do you want from me, Emma? I don't owe you a thing. Her hands, hanging at her sides, clenched in a fist so tight I could hear the knuckles crack. Her eyes were bloodshot as she glared at me and let out a cold laugh. You don't owe me? Ethan, if it weren't for me, would you be living in this beautiful apartment? Driving this expensive car? Don't you forget that you're nothing but an orphan from a backwater town. The closer someone is to you, the better they know exactly where to twist the knife. It felt like my heart was being ripped in two, but I fought to keep the tears from falling. After a long moment, Emma seemed to realize how cruel her words had been. Her anger subsided, and she was about to say something when her phone rang. The moment she pulled it from her pocket, I saw the name on the screen, Julian Croft. Her tone, so harsh with me, became impossibly gentle. Julian, don't worry. I'm coming to get you right now. Just stay in the car and wait for me. She rushed out of the kitchen without a single backward glance. The front door slammed shut, and my legs gave out. I collapsed onto the cold floor, finally letting the tears stream down my face. I sobbed, clutching my chest, the words a painful whisper. Emma, when you say his name, does it ever sound like mine? Emma didn't come home that night. The next day, I saw a photo of her trending on Twitter being carried into a mansion by Julian Croft. The captions all said the same thing. The Sterling heiress and the Croft heir were close to making it official, a match made in heaven. It was true. They belonged in the same world. To Emma, I was just an outsider who had happened to save her life. It took me only 3 days to get all my travel documents in order. I even paid a hefty fee to enroll in an overseas program. Emma was right. Without her, I never would have experienced this kind of life. So, we were even. Mr. Sterling had been good to me since I arrived in Crestview, and since I was taking a large sum of his money and never planned to see him again, I decided to buy him a farewell gift. I had just stepped into a high-end tie shop when I saw her. Emma was there, smiling as she carefully adjusted a tie for Julian Croft. The way they looked at each other was thick with unspoken intimacy. Just then, Emma noticed me. The smile vanished from her face, replaced by a dark scowl as she walked towards me. My chest tightened. Before I could say anything, Julian spoke first, smoothly taking Emma's hand in his. You must be Ethan, right? The hero who saved Emma. Seeing their intertwined hands, I couldn't keep the sharp edge out of my voice. I am. What about it? Ethan, watch your tone. Emma snapped the moment the words left my mouth. I just looked at her and gave a cold, empty smile. Did I say something wrong? Julian quickly stepped in to play peacemaker, tugging gently on her sleeve. Come on, Emma. There's no need to get upset over someone so beneath you. He then turned his condescending gaze on me. It seems a few days with the Sterlings have made you forget your place, Ethan. Don't forget, if you hadn't saved Emma, you wouldn't even be worthy of standing here talking. Everyone, including Emma herself, seemed to think I should be honored that I got to save her. At that thought, I dropped my gaze and let out a cold snort. If I could go back, I said, my voice flat, I'd wish I never saved her at all. Ethan, Emma roared, looking at me as if she wanted to tear me apart. She spoke through clenched teeth. Say that again. I dare you. I lifted my head, my vision blurred by tears, and repeated in a raw voice, Emma, if I had the choice, I wish I had never saved you. She didn't speak this time, just stared at me for a long moment with an incredibly complex expression before spinning around and storming out. Julian hurried after her, but as he passed me, he stopped. He glanced back at me with a smug grin. Oh, by the way, I have some good news to share. Emma's pregnant. Those 2 words made my blood run cold. In my past life, this didn't happen for years. How could it be happening now? Seeing the stunned look on my face, Julian smirked, satisfied, and walked away. The night before my flight, Emma did something she never did. She called me, saying she wanted to talk. I figured she was going to tell me about the pregnancy, or that she and Julian were getting married. Whatever it was, it didn't matter anymore. When she arrived at my apartment, the first thing she saw was my packed suitcase by the door. She froze, a confused look on her face. "Where are you going?" I glanced at the suitcase, and for the first time, I lied to her. "You remember Mrs. Peterson, our old neighbor? She's sick and asked me to come visit." "When are you leaving?" she asked quickly. I paused for a second before continuing the lie. "Tomorrow night." Emma nodded, seemingly talking more to herself. "Mrs. Peterson was always so good to me. I'll go with you tomorrow night to see her." I didn't respond. We stood there in a strange, heavy silence. Finally, Emma broke the silence. She glanced at me hesitantly a few times before pulling a small velvet box from her pocket. When she opened it, a massive diamond ring glittered inside. My heart skipped a beat. A bitter thought crossed my mind. So she and Julian really were getting married. "Is it beautiful?" she asked. I snapped down my thoughts and met her gaze. "It's fine." She fell silent, biting her lip, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. "Ethan," she began suddenly, "I know I've been awful lately. I've said so many hurtful things, but I didn't mean any of them." She was actually apologizing. I gave a small, detached smile. At least she had the decency to do that before the end. "Don't worry about it," I said coolly. "It's all in the past." Her eyes lit up at my words, and she grabbed my hand. "Really? You're not angry anymore?" I had no idea what this was about, but before I could respond, my phone buzzed. I pulled my hand away and checked the message. It was from the rental agent I'd been in touch with. "Mr. Jiang, the apartment has been secured. The landlord will contact you upon your arrival." I locked the screen and looked back at her. This was it. This was the real goodbye. I took a deep breath and gave her a genuine smile, the first in a long time. "I'm not angry." She seemed to let out a huge sigh of relief and reach for my hand again, but this time I instinctively took a step back. She noticed the small movement, and her smile froze on her face. "Ethan, you really don't blame me? There's so much I've wanted to tell you. We can talk when I get back." I cut her off, suddenly feeling exhausted. She opened her mouth to say something, but then just nodded. "Okay, we have plenty of time. We can talk after we get back from visiting Mrs. Peterson." I told her I was tired, a clear signal for her to leave. She kept looking back as she walked to the door. Just before she left, she pressed the ring box into my hand. "Hold on to this for me. I'll pick you up after work tomorrow, and we'll go see her together." I just smiled silently and watched her go. The second the door clicked shut, I tossed the ring into the trash can, grabbed my suitcase and keys, and left for the airport. This time, it was truly over. 5 years later, my plane touched down in Crestview. As I walked out of the terminal, I saw her from across the street, a woman leaning against a black Bentley. She was beautiful, with a warm smile. She spotted me, waved, and then strode over. "Long time no see, Ethan." A smile touched my own lips. "I'm honored." The great director Vance, picking me up herself. She didn't reply right away, instead taking my suitcase and guiding me toward the car. Everyone's waiting. They're all excited to finally meet the brilliant, late-blooming screenwriter. After leaving Crestview 5 years ago, I'd gone to study in the States. I stumbled into screenwriting by accident and fell in love with it. I went from knowing nothing to writing professional scripts and eventually became a reasonably well-known name in the industry. It took me 5 years to carve out a place for myself. A lot of people were curious about this self-taught writer who came out of nowhere. As it happened, the famous director Chloe Vance had the rights to a great story and reached out about a collaboration. I remembered how much she'd helped me when I was starting out overseas, so I agreed without hesitation and flew back to Crestview. On the way to the welcome dinner, I watched the city blur past my window. I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of nostalgia for a place I thought I'd never see again. "How long are you planning to stay?" Chloe asked. "Until the movie's done," I answered honestly. "The weather in Silver Creek should be nice by then. I'll head there for a while, get some fresh ideas." She nodded in understanding. We rode the rest of the way in comfortable silence until the car pulled up to the restaurant. We walked upstairs together. The moment Chloe pushed open the door to the private dining room, I saw a table of industry people who had been waiting for us. But what truly shocked me was seeing Emma Sterling sitting among them, the one person I never expected to see again. "Everyone," Chloe announced, "I'd like you to meet the brilliant screenwriter, Ethan." A murmur went through the room as several people started whispering. "I can't believe he's so young. Don't underestimate him. His talent is legendary." I heard Chloe had to pull a lot of strings to get him to come back. "They seem pretty close, don't they?" Their chatter didn't bother me. I pulled my eyes away from Emma and gave the room a polite smile. "Please call me Ethan. I'm looking forward to working with all of you." Chloe gestured for me to take a seat. From the moment I'd walked in, I could feel a searing gaze fixed on me, and I knew exactly who it was from. As I sat, Chloe made the formal introduction. Ethan, this is our film's executive producer, Ms. Emma Sterling. Then she turned to Emma. Ms. Sterling, this is my dear friend, Ethan. Emma's voice was low, laced with an unmistakable displeasure. I don't recall you ever mentioning a friend like this, Director Vance. Her eyes flicked toward Chloe, sharp as daggers. Chloe simply raised an eyebrow. Well, he's not just an ordinary friend. Besides, Ethan hasn't lived in Crestview for a long time. It makes sense you've never met. Not just an ordinary friend. Emma repeated the words slowly, a cold smirk playing on her lips. The atmosphere in the room turned icy, and everyone else fell silent. I looked directly at Emma, poured myself a full glass of whiskey, and stood up. Miss Sterling, thank you for investing in the Green Sword. Chloe and I are very close, so let's consider this a toast to the film's future success. With that, I tilted my head back and downed the entire glass. Emma's expression tightened, and she instinctively rose to her feet, her brow furrowed as she watched me. But before I could finish, Chloe snatched the glass from my hand. To the astonishment of everyone at the table, she finished the rest of it herself. She then turned to me with a playful smile. You just got off a long flight. You can't be drinking like that. Don't be reckless. The scene struck a chord in Emma's memory. She remembered doing the exact same thing for me years ago, taking a drink meant for me at a dinner party. My eyes locked with Emma's for a long moment before I finally looked away, catching the complex, unreadable expression on her face. She let out a cold huff and began to clap slowly. Well, Director Vance and Mr. Ethan certainly have a special relationship, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, sharing a drink from the same glass. Chloe started to respond, but I cut her off. I've been on a plane for over 10 hours, and I'm exhausted. I'm afraid I have to call it a night. We'll have plenty of time to talk later. Please, everyone enjoy the rest of the evening. The bill is on me. Without giving Emma another glance, I stood up and walked out. Emma watched us leave, a sharp pain twisting in her chest. We had just reached the parking garage when she called out from behind us. Ethan, wait. Chloe and I both stopped. Chloe instinctively moved to stand slightly in front of me, offering Emma a polite smile. Ms. Sterling, is there something else you need from Ethan? It's getting late. Perhaps we could discuss it on set. Emma ignored her completely. She walked around Chloe, grabbed my arm, and looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Where did you go for 5 years? Do you have any idea what I went through after you? I cut her off, pulling my arm free, taking a step back. Miss Sterling, please show some decorum. A flicker of hurt and embarrassment crossed her face. She repeated my words in a hoarse whisper. Ms. Sterling, decorum. Ethan, you never used to talk to me like that. I stared at her, my face a blank mask. That was then. Things are different now. If you don't have anything else to say, please get out of my way. I'm going home. As I turned to leave, she grabbed my arm again, her voice suddenly pleading. Please don't go, Ethan. I have so much I need to ask you, so much I need to tell you. Before I could answer, Chloe stepped forward and firmly removed Emma's hand from my arm. Ms. Sterling, Ethan is tired. Please stop harassing him. Whatever you have to say can wait. We're going home now. As Chloe started to lead me away, Emma let out a cold, dark laugh. Home? You live together. Chloe nodded. We do. I don't know what happened between you two in the past, and I don't care. Right now, he's exhausted and needs to rest, so please leave him alone. Without giving Emma another chance to speak, Chloe pulled me toward the car. I could feel Emma's eyes on our backs, and I knew she was crying. On the drive home, Chloe and I sat in the back, neither of us saying a word. I could tell she was bursting with questions, so I told her everything. The whole story of me and Emma. The more I spoke, the deeper her frown became. We were never really a couple, I finished. We just helped each other through a difficult time. Chloe turned to me, a playful glint in her eye. Aren't you worried she'll pull her funding after you talk to her like that? I shrugged, a lazy smile on my face. Let her. To be honest, I'm the one having second thoughts about this collaboration. If she backs out, I'll fund the movie myself. At that, she laughed. All right, Mr. Moneybags. Just don't blame me if it actually happens. I smiled and reached over, ruffling her hair affectionately. Of course I'll blame you. Who else is there? The mood was lighter than I'd expected. This was how it always was with Chloe. For the 3 years I'd known her, our friendship had been easy, comfortable, and free of any pressure. Chloe had arranged a place for me to stay. She even made the bed for me, smiling as she smoothed the sheets. I live right upstairs, so call me if you need anything. The place is clean, but I'll have someone come by tomorrow to give it a proper once-over. She turned back to me. It'll have to do for tonight. I looked around the immaculate apartment and nodded. Thank you, Director Vance, for your 5-star service. I'm eternally grateful. Oh, she laughed. After giving me a few more instructions, she turned to leave, but then she suddenly wrapped her arms around me. I froze, my own arms hovering awkwardly at my sides. She just held me tighter, her head resting against my chest as she whispered, "Ethan, it's so good to see you." I threw myself into my work, spending my days on set with the script and my evenings going home with Chloe. She was an amazing cook, and I'm pretty sure I gained 5 pounds in the first week. One evening, as we were leaving the studio, I turned to her with a grin. "What's on the menu tonight?" I was thinking sweet and sour ribs. "You mentioned them the other day." "Chloe, stop. Can't you see you're making me fat?" We were laughing when Emma appeared out of nowhere, blocking our path. She'd been showing up on set a lot lately, always looking like she wanted to talk, but I'd managed to avoid her until now. Chloe addressed Emma directly. "Ms. Sterling, if you have concerns about the production, you're free to pull your funding. I won't even charge you the penalty fee." Emma ignored her, walking right up to me. Her voice was uncharacteristically timid. "Ethan, could we have dinner? There's so much I need to tell you." I glanced at Chloe, who gave a small, resigned sigh and nod. "You go on ahead," I told her. "I'll talk with her." "Ethan," she started, but then stopped herself. Her expression hardened. "Fine, I'll wait for you at home for dinner." She shot one last glare at Emma before walking away. Once Chloe was gone, I turned back to Emma. "Whatever you have to say, you can say it here. Though I really don't think we have anything to talk about." My coldness made her smile, a bitter, painful expression. "You lied to me. You promised we would talk when you got back. But when I went to your apartment, you were gone. I thought you'd gone to see Mrs. Peterson without telling me, so I drove all night to get back to our old town. She said she hadn't seen you." "Ethan, do you have any idea how hopeless I felt?" I looked at her anguished face and felt absolutely nothing. In fact, I was mostly just wondering if Chloe was still making those sweet and sour ribs. "I don't know, and I don't want to know," I said. "Emma, you chose Julian. I wished you the best, which is why I left." I paused and shrugged. "Besides, there was nothing between us anymore." "Ethan," she screamed, her eyes turning a furious red. "Nothing between us? You saved my life. You worked 4 jobs to support me. You were the only person I could think about. And now you're telling me it meant nothing? Do you have any heart at all?" I couldn't help it. I laughed. I looked at her, my brow furrowed in genuine confusion. "Shouldn't I be asking you that? Emma, do you have a heart? Or have you just forgotten all the things you said to me?" My question left her speechless. She opened and closed her mouth several times before the words finally came out. "Ethan, believe me or not, I know I was wrong. I had a dream. In it, you used the fact that you saved my life to force my father to let me marry you. At first, I was happy, but then I met Julian through work, and things got complicated. You misunderstood us, and we started drifting apart. I treated you horribly, and in the end, I killed you. I was so consumed by regret that I lost my mind and eventually killed myself. But when I woke up, it was 2 days before you left. That's why I was trying so hard to make you stay." She fumbled in her pocket and pulled out a velvet box. Inside was the same diamond ring I'd thrown in the trash. "I was going to propose to you. I want to make up for everything, but you just vanished. I spent 5 years looking for you." Listening to her, my first thought was that she had been reborn too. It suddenly all made sense. Her strange behavior before I left, the sudden change in her personality. I took a deep breath. "But you were pregnant. As a mother, how could you just decide to give your child a different father?" "Ethan, that's not true." Emma cut in desperately. "I was never pregnant. I swear on my life. Julian made that up. He wanted you to give up and leave on your own. Please, you have to believe me." Looking at her face, I knew she was telling the truth. But in our past life, she really had fallen for him. It seemed that in this life, she was reborn before that could happen. For a moment, I felt dizzy. Fate was a cruel joke, but it didn't change anything. I had made my choice when I left, and I wasn't going back. And I certainly wasn't going to tell her that I'd been reborn too. I gave her a cold smile. "It's a nice story, but even if it's true, it doesn't matter. We can't go back. Emma, please stop interfering with my life." With that, I turned and walked away. To my surprise, she let out a short, hollow laugh. "Is it because of Chloe Vance?" she asked, her voice full of defeat. "Is that why you're so cold to me?" I stopped walking, but didn't turn around. Even if it weren't for her, it would be someone else. The Ethan who cared about you is gone. You lost him a long time ago. When I got home, Chloe was in the kitchen, wearing an apron and putting the finishing touches on dinner. She glanced over her shoulder at the sound of the door and gave me a small, tight smile. "Wash up. It's time to eat." I knew she was upset. I went into the kitchen and stood next to her, washing my hands for a long time. She never looked at me, just kept focused on her cooking. When I was done, I just stood there watching her. Finally, she seemed to notice me. "Go on, get out of here," she said. "It's getting smoky." "Chloe, are you mad at me?" The question was so direct, it made her freeze, her hand hovering over the stove. "Do I have any right to be mad at you, Ethan?" There was a surprising sadness in her voice when she said it. For the 3 years I'd known her, Chloe had always been so bright and cheerful. Being around her was easy. There had been an unspoken attraction between us for a while, but I was focused on my studies, on building a new life, and she was busy with her career. We both just silently agreed not to go there, until she asked me to come back to Crestview. To be honest, I was scared. I was afraid that if I came back, we'd settle into being just friends. But in the end, I knew I had to take the chance. I knew I needed to be with her. Before she could react, I stepped forward, cupped her face in my hands, and kissed her. "Chloe," I murmured against her lips. "Of course you do." I felt her tremble, then go still. A long moment passed before she dropped the spatula with a clatter, turned off the stove, and threw her arms around my neck, pulling me closer and deepening the kiss. The air crackled with a tension that had been building for years. We were both breathless like fish out of water. Later, in the dim light of the bedroom, I felt her gaze on me, hot and intense. She traced the lines of my face as if she were memorizing a priceless work of art, then leaned down and brushed her lips against mine. I arched my neck and kissed her back. It was the only answer I needed to give. The next morning, I heard Chloe stirring and went into the bedroom. I couldn't stop smiling from the moment I saw her. I sat on the edge of the bed and leaned in to kiss her. "Want to sleep in? Or should I get you some food?" "Food, please," she murmured, kissing me back. She got dressed, and we walked out to the kitchen together. I had reheated last night's dinner, including the sweet and sour ribs she never got to eat. A feeling of pure, simple happiness washed over me. Now that we were officially a couple, Chloe and I didn't hide our relationship on set. It didn't take long for everyone to find out, including Emma. "Ethan," she threw open the door to my trailer without knocking. I was in the middle of a rewrite, and the intrusion shattered my focus. I set down my pen and glared at her. "Has no one ever taught you to knock?" She just stared at me, a desperate hope in her eyes that I would deny the rumors. She was about to be disappointed. I met her gaze and said flatly, "It's true. Chloe and I are together. We'll be sure to send you an invitation to the wedding, Ms. Sterling. You can bring a gift." My casual cruelty finally broke her. She lunged forward, grabbing my shoulders, her voice a frantic, angry mess. "Are you doing this to punish me? Is this about what happened before?" "I swear, there was never anything between me and Julian. Ethan, it's always been you. I have never forgotten that you saved my life, or the 5 years we spent together. We were everything to each other. How do we end up like this?" A single, hot tear splashed onto my cheek. Her eyes, wide and desperate, drifted to my neck, where a faint red mark was visible. Her pupils constricted. She reached out and tried to rub it away, but the skin only grew redder. When she realized what it was, her hand dropped to her side as she stumbled backward. "You too." I'd had enough. I pushed her away and shot to my feet. "Emma, from the second you got back to Crestview, you forbade anyone from mentioning our past. I heard you with my own ears, telling your friends that those 5 years were the most humiliating time of your life. Then you and everyone around you never missed a chance to remind me that I owed my entire life to you, just because I saved you. You told me yourself that I was nothing but an orphan from a backwater town, and that without you, I would be nothing. No, that's not." She started to argue, but the words died in her throat. I took a deep, weary breath. "You're right. Without the Sterling's money, I wouldn't be where I am today. But I saved your life. So I'd say that makes us even." "I don't want to be even," she cried, tears streaming down her face as she reached for me again. I backed away. "Don't. Emma, I know about your dream. It's because you were reborn, weren't you?" "Because I was too." She froze, staring at me in utter disbelief. "The things that happened in our last life, the way I died, I still see it in my nightmares. I can't forget what was real. I was given a second chance, and I refused to waste it on a toxic, pointless relationship. I'm happy now. I have a good life, and I want to protect it. That's why I never told you. Now you know why I left. I need you to respect that." I took a final, deep breath. "So please, leave me alone." She left without another word. I thought that would be the last time I ever saw her. I never imagined that later that night I'd get a call saying she had tried to kill herself. The paramedics said she was already hypothermic when they found her. She'd filled the bathtub with cold water and slit her wrists, cuts so deep they went to the bone. She had meant to die. The only reason she was alive was because her housekeeper found her. Chloe asked if I wanted to go see her. I was quiet for a moment, then I looked at her and grinned. "Are you that generous, Director Vance? Maybe I should just get back with Emma. I could have 2 girlfriends." She punched me playfully on the arm and never brought it up again. The next summer, Chloe and I got married. She thoughtfully flew in all the old neighbors from my hometown who had looked after me as a kid. She said she wanted everyone who mattered to us to be there. Some people will take your deepest wounds and use them as a weapon against you. Others will see those same wounds and promise to spend their lives helping them heal. I don't know what a perfect ending is supposed to look like, but for me, this was it. The ceremony was about to start. I sat nervously in the dressing room, fiddling with my suit and my hair. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but I answered it anyway. The line was silent. I was about to hang up, assuming it was a spam call, when a familiar, raspy voice came through the speaker. It was Emma. "Ethan, I heard you're getting married today." "I am," I said. There was a pause, and then she gave a sad, broken laugh. "I always thought I would be the one to marry you. And then I was, but I didn't know how to appreciate it. I deserved to lose you. You said you never wanted to see me again, and you meant it. Even when I tried to kill myself to get you to come back, you stayed away. That was the first time you were ever truly cruel to me." I let out a long sigh. "Emma, when I loved you, I nearly gave you my life. So no matter what happened after, my conscience is clear." "I know," she said, her voice dropping to a serious whisper. "That's why, as much as it hurts, I'm letting you go. At least Chloe is someone who can make you happy. It's just a shame I won't get to see it. From now on, I'm going to travel the world. Everywhere I go, I'll say a prayer for you, for your happiness. If one day you stop hearing from me, it probably means I've died somewhere far away." Her voice was strangely calm. "But dying far away from you, that feels like the best ending I could hope for." Her last words were, "Ethan, I'm sorry. And I love you." For a second, my mind flashed back 10 years to the summer I found her. She was sitting next to me in a long white dress, and we were watching the sun set over the hills. She had turned to me and said, "Ethan, I want to watch a lifetime of sunsets with you." The wedding march began to play. I ended the call, set the phone down on the table, and walked out to begin my new life.